Hello, everyone. Hey, Mum, remember to mute it and not watch the stream at the same. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Maude's Book Club. It's Maude here. We're doing one last stop. Get your beers, get your babes. We are talking lesbian lovers. I was like, are we just going to say it? We're just going to say it. It's Happy Pride Month, everyone. One Last Stop is by Casey McQuiston. It is a story that's kind of flirting with science fiction, but honestly, I think the sci-fi is the least interesting part of this book. It is about August Landry, a cynical pseudo-detective who finds love in a woman that she meets on the subway named Jane Sue, a punk lesbian from the 70s who's been misplaced in time and is trapped on the subway. Last week we spoke about chapters 1 to 9. This week's we'll talk about 10 to the rest. Let's be honest here. I like that one, Ken. That's good. And as a little special guest, she likes to pop in just a couple of times a year. I realized that it was already June. And so I was like, oh, quick, Mumma Garrett, you got to get in. And I didn't really know much about this book before I forced you to buy it and read it. But Mumma Garrett, welcome to the show.
Hello.
What did you give One Last Stop out of 5?
You always ask me this question. Look, I probably would give it 2.5 or 3.
Okay. We're shit. Everyone really, really likes this book, and we're the only two that have.
I don't dislike it at all. I just.
Oh no!
I'm usually pretty tough on books. I mean, everybody that I know in book club, my book clubs gives it, books 8 or 9, and I give them 5. So don't panic about this. This is fairly normal.
Okay, so just so everyone else understands, Mum has incredibly high expectations and standards. Oh, Colleen, yeah. I'm going to need you to mute, my love. We got Grandma Judy's left, right, and right.
Hello.
Mum loves Colleen. I've got to mute there, though.
I do.
But Colleen, let me know when you want me to unmute you so that I can get you to mute, and then we're doing all that fun stuff. Anyway, what I was trying to say is Mum has incredibly high expectations and it's really hard to get above average.
Yes, probably.
In life.
Oh, in life. Well, I don't know about life. It's certainly about books, yes.
Don't worry, Casey McQuiston, you're not the only person that's disappointed this woman. No, I love you. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's talk about, what did everyone else give it? I want to see the chat. Give me your rating out of 5 books. Everyone else in the chat, what are we feeling? Avery, I mean, I always pick you first because you start with A, but what's your score? You gave it a perfect 5. What did you love about this book?
For me, it's honestly all of the big happy queer found family for me. I love them. I love the whole group. I love how they stand up for each other, they look out for each other, just the way that they interact. I just love that so much, and it makes me feel like I'm a part of the group, and it makes me want to live that type of life, be able to just be that loud and happy and everything. And then also, the little bit of sci-fi and stuff is just enough to keep my interest, because I do normally I don't read a whole lot of contemporary fiction.
Yeah.
So that little bit in there is just, that keeps my interest along with just everything else. But it's mostly the found family.
Yes, and we've read a couple of found family books before, and they are my absolute favorites as well. That feeling of I will die for these characters. They make me so happy. They belong together, and they make me feel like I belong as well. Has this kind of how has this book inspired you in a way? You said you kind of want to be more outgoing and more quippy, but did it sell you on New York as a place that you would want to ever go?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So it's a really influential book.
Yeah. So it's funny because last week you said something about Brooklyn hipsters.
Yes.
I think if I had grown up there, I think I would probably be a Brooklyn hipster.
So you would be front and center at Billy's and at Delilah's and on the subway.
Yeah.
Would it also take you approximately 3 months to fall desperately in love with someone?
Probably not.
This book says you
but-
can, Avery. You'd get a job within 2 days. You'd find roommates within 2 hours, and you will find the love of your damn life in this. Mum, I can hear you. Do you have thoughts on that? Do you, Mother? Drink.
It was very quick, and it was very yes,
Convenient.
she certainly had a stream run, didn't she, when she got to New York? Yes. I mean, I guess.
Are we just cynical, Mama?
Pardon?
Are we just cynical?
Well, probably a little bit. I mean, it was nice. It's a nice story. It's a nice little journey for August and even Jane. But I liked it because I think that the whole book is about a sense of belonging and a sense of home. What is home? The concept of home. And I quite like that whole sort of overarching idea that this is really about bringing August home to something that's really meaningful for her that she really hasn't had in her life before. So I liked that part of it.
Hell yeah. Well, but we're also a little cynical, aren't we?
Well, yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, just, last week I felt like I was a bit of a grouch, so it's just really nice for everyone to see where I get it from. Thank you, Avery. We've got a lot of 3s, 4s, but not as many 5s. And Mum, you're the only one with a 2.5. But Vaden, you've given it a 4 out of 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. Yeah, so I enjoyed the book quite a bit. The mystery element was it kind of came out of nowhere, but I really enjoyed it. I knew in the end it was going to make a lot of perfect sense, but the way they explained it did make it fun at least, and it did bring it up a bit. And the characters themselves, I like their relationships with each other. I feel like they're fairly different from each other, Nico and Mila compared to Wes and Isaiah, all those people, and it's great the way they kind of resolve things at the end, at least with the relationships.
Yeah. Very sugary, yes. But I do like what you're saying with there's distinct characters there, we're getting a distinct sense of who Mila is, who Nico is, who Wes is, and them all coming together and, it being very symbiotic in that particular way. I like that. Colleen, you've given it a 3. This book not hitting with grandmas at the moment. Colleen, why a 3? There you go. Why a 3?
Well, one reason it was, it's just not my kind of book. And I mean, I love the characters, but one of my sisters used to force us into watching Hallmark movies a lot. And it got old really fast for me. So I love the characters. I love the found family, but
little tropey.
Just, yeah.
Which is funny because a toaster poster in the comments gave it a 4 out of 5 and said that the book avoided toxic tropes. And I do want to highlight that. I do want to distinguish, the difference between a toxic trope, a harmless trope. And I think that you, Colleen, you've got to tell me who's there with you. Oh, you've already muted. You've been getting entertained all day by your grandson, you've been saying.
This is Lucas that you hear next to me. He's playing Minecraft, and right now he's populating his kingdom with kitty cats.
See, I'd read that.
Yeah, I would.
That's really cute. Hi, Lucas. That's so sweet. But yeah, the tropes that we've had in this one, I do really want to kind of highlight what Avery has said, and that is, as someone who is queer and who is sort of wanting to have acceptance and seeing how normalized relationships are and how people can take you under their wing and how you can find community, and if you look hard enough, you do have your people, and your people are there to have your back, and just how important that is. And it's kind of against sort of this heteronormative trope that we see all the time. Man falls in love with girl, or woman falls in love with man, and that's how it goes. the ex is always a bit evil. We just don't really have anything like that. In fact, we don't really deal with anything too villainous at all in here. And that's what makes this sort of acceptance and found family that much more important for the queer community. So you're right, there's no real toxic tropes in here, but it does come with its predictability, which is maybe why Mumma Garrett, Colleen and myself aren't as bigger fans of it. Agree, Mumma?
Yeah, I kind of thought, with these two girls on the train, I would have liked to have heard more kind of, when you get in a New York train, people either don't talk to you at all, or there's a camaraderie, an interaction. People sort of bounce off one another. And I think it would have been nice to have a bit more inclusion of the people on the train. I mean, we spend an awful lot of time on that train. You get a very strong feeling it's just the two of them most of the time. So I would have liked to have, much more of a sense of New York and a sense of that train catching sort of, I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was missing a little bit.
You're exactly right. I mean, they had an extraordinary amount of privacy for a public train.
Yeah, and I think most people would probably be okay. I mean, she makes that comparison between the 70s New York, perhaps, or New Orleans, and now, and you get a sense that people are a lot more welcoming and a lot more understanding and a lot more tolerant now. But you don't always get that. But I don't mean that you've got to get on the train and everybody's going to abuse this couple. But you get an interaction.
Maybe just being like, "Excuse me, hi, could you just not finger blast each other while I'm sitting right next to you?"
Something like that. I think I know what you're up to.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was like, it's going to be full. There's going to be someone sitting next to them listening to everything that's happening.
In the train pretty much most of the time. They're not private carriages here.
And is this someone's not going to be like, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but overhear. You're not from this time. You're stuck in some sort of electronic.
Well, I kept thinking, as I said to you the other day, I kept thinking she hasn't had a bath for a long, long time. I mean, she is, and she probably needs one.
Well, I did say it did get mentioned. They do, like, that's the thing about sci-fi.
I think she did try to work her way around that one.
But when you're constantly
she's wearing the same clothes, so I keep seeing you on the train and you're always wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't really know.
A little thing.
I hear you, Mama. KP Dubs, 4 out of 5. I saw your Fable review. You said I would not have read this book if it wasn't for book club, but you still found yourself enjoying it. I don't know why we can't hear you. What did you press? Go into those Discord server settings. Sometimes they reset. I mean, it happens to me all the time once I've started the show. He's jumping out. I will get more from KP Dubs after these mini reviews. Sprinkles, 4 out of 5. What'd you like? What's in the notebook?
Okay.
This week.
I got 3 pages of notes.
Woo-hoo-hoo. It's more than me.
Because if you couldn't tell, I like to write down. That's just again to focus my thoughts.
Yeah.
But let's see review wise. So as you know, or maybe you don't, I've been living in New York since I was 12 years old. So I pretty much grew up in New York. So when I see something like that, I associate it with my life as well. Like, a lot of good times going on the trains, hanging out with my friends and whatnot, and all these other things. Now, obviously, there are some things that are definitely far-fetched. But also, when you go on the train a lot of times, a lot of people don't care, especially on the subway. So they'll do a lot of wild and crazy stuff. So it's not out of the norm for them to have a party on the train of the queue line and just be like, oh, okay. Especially if you've been in New York City at 3 a.m., we call it the drunk train, where everyone is drunk, loud and obnoxious. And you're just like, I need to hide because I don't want to be associated with these people.
Yeah, the extroverts are
So you
out.
try and be a shrinking violet. But yeah, like I said, the general feeling of the book is that it is a sweet book. Yes, it has a lot of tropes, but it's just more of like having it out there. You know what I mean? Like, for example, the show Never Have I Ever. How many sitcoms have you seen on Netflix called Never Have I Ever that are all Indian, right? You don't. So it's good to have variety. That's the bottom line, regardless of it being trope-ish or redundant, whatever you want to say. It was still a delightful appearance, you know.
4 out of 5. All righty. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Robin, 3. What's I just saw that panicked look that you just gave. Ooh,
I was looking at my phone, got distracted.
So you gave it a 3 as well. There's not many of us here at Threeville. Why was it a 3 for you?
I thought it was a bit slow, and then honestly did not like the ending.
It was the psych out. It's like, well, it didn't happen.
I didn't like the ending either.
I honestly think that if Jane just stayed in her time, it would have been better.
Well, I mean, for me, it's just like everything else has been so perfect. Everything else has fallen so much into place that's another sort of how it was predictable. When it didn't really work and she was sad, I still kind of was just like, okay, but wait for it, turn the page, there it is. Little formulaic with the special delivery of sweets in store for the reader. Mum, why didn't you like the ending? She figured out where the mute button was. Watch out, kids.
Got it. I didn't like the ending because, well, I didn't like the idea that they kept saying you're going to go back to the 70s. And there was sort of the suggestion that if she went back to the 70s, she went back to California. And that kind of threw me a little bit because I kept thinking, why would she go back to California if this has all happened in New York on the subway? But, I mean, I get the whole closure for family, and she's got a family that's getting quite a lot older and she needs to go home to see it. But I don't think she needed to put that in. I think that it could have been just a given that she was going to take August home to see if she could track down her family and reunite with her family. But I didn't think it was necessary. I thought it was too much.
But it needed to loop back together August's overarching purpose of being this sleuthy person because, you know, there was one sentence mentioned in chapter 2.
That was absolutely fine. I liked that. But I didn't like the idea of her going, you know, getting on the bus and going back to California. I just didn't think that was necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, get it all out, I say. Terry, 3.75 out of 5. Give me your summary.
Yes.
Give me your review.
The first half pushed as a fantasy book, and then the second half pushed it as, no, it's actually a sci-fi. It reads like a sitcom.
Yeah.
And for the ending, I was okay with, because with the research August made, that at one point Jane said, well, when they do the plan of going back to when she disappeared, that if she did, she would be in New York somewhere so she could be able to find her, and she wasn't. So that means that if it worked, she either didn't work, she either disappeared or would have stayed in where in the present.
Yep.
Because if she couldn't go back in time and still be in New York.
So this is when we start messing.
I kind of like the ending.
Well, if we're messing with time, it's like if she went back, she would already be old. So what would have been really, really cool is if instantly it all happens and then
cool as Steve Rogers?
Yeah, 60-year-old BU walks in the front door. She's like, I was able to live my entire life because of you. Thank you so much. You know? Because that's how time works with this shit. But I guess we're not messing with time, we're messing with electricity. I could be kinder. I don't have to sound so sarcastic, but
But the difference with Steve Rogers is that Steve Rogers' true love was in the past,
yeah, so you wanted to go
but
back.
Jane's true love was in the present.
I was just about to be on this huge. What exactly is true love? You know, like, really, if we're going to go through that, Mama knows. Mumma Garrett, tell me about true love.
Well, yes, it is about sort of true love. The whole story is about true love. And I liked all the other love sort of stories as well. You know, you find that Augie in California, even though he's died, has had some sort of relationship. So she sort of rounds off all the love. You know, Isaiah and Wes end up together. You've got Mila and Nico who you know have a fairly substantial relationship. It was nice, kind of all that stuff. But I mean, I'm a bit like Colleen. You know, it's a bit hallmarky. It's a bit too sweet, too twee.
I mean, I have to kind of acknowledge the position that Casey McQuiston's been in. She had just released a best-selling book, very, very popular book that I was telling you about, Mum, that I read in like not even 2 days. The president's first son and the Prince of England, and it's just so over the top. But it's a much more like, even though these are incredibly big, powerful, sort of like notable figures and characters, they were so much more grounded. They had so much more essence to them. And they felt a lot more tangible and real. And the connection and communication between the two was the most normal thing about the entire thing. Like, and I just feel like there's such a gap in almost like authenticity with these characters, how they're talking to each other, what they're sharing. I mean, I feel like in the first book, they were like stakes. It's like you truly did feel 23 and that the world was on your shoulders, and talking about that with someone, and that the vulnerabilities that it invokes. And I think, you know, that was two men where men struggle with vulnerability usually on a good day, but then you've got two women who are like hell-bent, set in their feels and are very emotive, and yet I'm not actually connecting with them on that emotional level that I was with the other book.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, is it a gender thing, or is it a
same writer,
an expectation that you have of how women get on, what they talk about?
You think it's me? I'm the problem?
I didn't say that, Maude.
Where do you think I got the high expectations from, Mother? We've already been over this. Gosh, we're getting there already. That's fine. Lisa, you said that on Goodreads you gave it a 4, but it's more like a 3.5 for you.
Yeah, I kind of, sorry, I've been sick all week.
How are you feeling today?
Better. I stayed home from work and slept half the day. It was
I love
nice.
those days, though. You got to have them every now and then.
Yeah. I enjoyed the book. It was pretty hallmarky, but it was cute. I liked it, but it was kind of overall just underwhelming for me. I don't know. I think I agree with you the same way. Like, I love her other book.
Yeah.
And I kind of see what you mean about, I was able to connect with those characters a lot more than I was with these characters. But overall, I still enjoyed it. It was really good. But yeah, I say probably like a 3.5.
Yeah, okay. I like. Yeah, it's so strange that, you know, here is a bisexual who's starting her life in New York, who's, you know, trying to make friends, and then there's the Prince of England, and I can relate more to the Prince of England. Like, that's a superpower. That's commendable, right? And that's the difference with the writing, I feel, on this one. Since we're going, you know, the 3s and the 3.5 clubs, Robin, I call bullshit that August's first relationship is her true love. That is the largest red flag I've ever seen. Tell me about that.
Well, like, if you're in a relationship with someone and you find out that this is their first relationship and they're like, oh, I love you so much, I only love, like, you don't know what love is.
Also, you've got Jane literally being like, let's smooch. Actually, that reminds me of 17 other girls that I've been with. And she's like, okay. Yeah, you're very right. Like, Jane's incredibly experienced. And I thought that would be incredibly debilitating for August, just to hear about this girl that she's falling in love with, how much experience she has, how many other women that she's been with. I think a very real response to that would be a really deep set insecurity that she's not got anything on these other girls, and that why would Jane pick her? And that if she's got all of this experience, I think it would be very crippling for her to feel like she's incredibly inexperienced. So you're right. It just kind of seamlessly happened. There's a lot of places where if I could go back and tab spots, it's like, break this down further. This could be interesting. This could have depth to it. And it kind of all just gets skated over in about a sentence or two, or swept under the rug, or, dealt with without any conflict sometimes. Kate's here. How's Final Fantasy 16? Oh my God, Mom, Darcy's here. Mom.
Hi, Dad.
Dart's in the chat. Everyone drops Doritos when Darcy's in here because his code name is Dorizo.
Is he talking?
He just said, that sounds like my mother. Okay, I just read a comment of Kate's. Kate, are you going to jump in? Oh, he said, hi, Mum. Oh, that's cute. That's 3 out of 5 Garretts in this chat. That's pretty good for us. Oh, my God. That's really good for us, actually, lately. Kate says, not to say anything about anyone's opinion or the quality of One Last Stop versus Red, White, and Royal Blue, but just a general comment. But an interesting thing in romance is how when man loves man is usually widely celebrated and given lots of passes, but when women love women, women/women, they're far more critically judged on a higher level. It's a microcosm of patriarchy and a problem in the whole romance genre and all of its subgenres. That's cool to talk about. Can we explore that further? Yeah, can we explore that further if you're there?
Well, it's something that you see I was just said after that to tie in with sci-fi fantasy, because we mostly read sci-fi fantasy books. The exact same thing happens with white authors, especially white male authors, compared to authors of color, especially female authors of color. And it happens, you'll see it a lot with female pop stars and stuff too, that if she's not reinventing herself every single time and doing something like, oh my God, it's so original. Like right now, Olivia Rodrigo is, I think, going to have a new album out, and everyone's like, it's too close to her first one. But if it was a guy doing the same thing, it'd just be like, oh, he's just doing what works. And
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing, though, in genre writing, especially, that with romance. And I don't know if it's because it's mostly straight women reading a lot of these MLM books that there's a lot of pass with things that are like considered quote unquote lazy from a female writer, that it's like, oh, she's just being lazy. But a male, like the same sort of story, if it was like 2 men, would get a pass, where the female one is derivative and copying and this and this and that and that. And the same thing happens, like I said, with like sci-fi and fantasy, where a guy gets like, oh, it's tropey, but it's like good. And it's like, there's some things where it's like, this could have been better, but it gets a pass. Whereas if that was written by a female writer or a writer of color, it would be ripped to shreds. And it's one of the reasons why authors like J.K. Rowling or V.E. Schwab use initials instead of their first names.
Really, really fascinating. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Even Darcy says, I think that's true and a good point. I would love to really figure out, as a woman reading about this relationship, why I am not feeling it at a fundamental level, where I felt it a lot more between a relationship between 2 men. And I wonder if that's like...
I do have a comment on that, actually, because I saw someone on Twitter pointed out that a lot of lesbians really like queer men content because there's a level of dissonance there, because there's a lot of people who don't like seeing themselves in the romance for whatever reason. especially because I find a lot of like, especially Gen Zers, new adult, which this book is considered a new adult genre as opposed to like YA or pure romance, that because of the internet's, you can't even look at something without like a pornographic ad being on the side, that younger people are terrified of sex. So the idea of seeing themselves in a sex scene creeps them out. So they like that level of dissonance where they're not part of that romance.
Oh, that's really interesting as well. The younger generation's terrified of sex. Mum, you sort of did that. You did reverse psychology. If we talk about it so much and we normalize it, then it's going to be great. And it just like petrified me. So I think that's happening with Gen Z at the moment, which I think is really fascinating. I mean, it's really fascinating to talk about. Isn't that funny though, where it's like, there's like, I don't really want to completely see myself in this role, because seeing it like, I mean, it's not a video game. You don't get options, you read the words and you're not in control of how it ends. So you are kind of on a passive journey through it. Okay, I guess a question that I would love to ask everyone: do you prefer to see yourself identify as the character, or do you prefer to sort of disassociate and have? So I mean, because I've read so many books where it's like, the dude, the guy, and I don't really have any problem with it. But I did recently read that book by Emily Henry, where it was a little confronting how similar I was to the character. Oh, this is interesting. What is thoughts and opinions?
Do you mean that in general or for romance specifically?
I guess it's for romance, isn't it? I guess it's romance. Most of us are older though, says Kate. There could be generational divide that we just don't see. Oh, this is just like a meal. This is good stuff.
I've never seen myself in a character romantically. I'm more like the chemistry of it all. Like, for example, that new movie Jennifer Lawrence came out with recently.
Yes.
It was a very funny movie. It was a tropey romantic movie, but it was very funny because the guy's so awkward, and then Jennifer Lawrence is trying to get him out of his shell. It's I just like the cohesion. You know what I mean? Like people that work well together. If that makes sense.
Well, the question was, do you like seeing yourself as the character, and was that the case for you with this movie?
No, I agree with you on that. Yes. Like I'm saying, like the character in the movie, the guy that Jennifer Lawrence is trying to woo was definitely me.
Got it.
Because I'm like one of those guys that's like, whoa, slow down, lady. I need to know you first. Why are you being so physical with me? Stuff like that. So yeah, that's what made it more funnier. So yes.
Okay. All right. We got that one. Robin, what are you feeling for this?
I think I usually insert myself into romance and I try to relate to the main character and try to
I think I switch off. When it's the adventure, when it's the story, I'm all there. But when it gets a little down and dirty, I think I kind of take a step back and I'm like, you two do what you need to do in this moment. I don't want to interrupt. Looks like you're having a very good time. yeah. Oh, okay. It's like, but yeah, I don't know. Vaden says, I rarely see myself, see a character in media like myself, but I would like to see it more often.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sure if maybe it's related to how often you see yourself in characters. Like if the characters in the media you watch or read are similar to you more often, then maybe you get tired of it, or it's just you don't want to see it as much anymore. But for me, since I don't see it often, it's more of a novelty, I guess, maybe, because usually I'm pretty distant. I don't insert myself into the main characters at all. I kind of distance. So if I could see it more often, I think it'd be nice.
Yeah. I ate them all, Adam. Adam Vision just popped by and he's using the new feature where you can highlight a comment and make it stay up the top for a while. Guess how many snacks Maude has on her desk right now? Well, joke's on you. That had chippies in it. And I ate them all. No jelly beans. I took the jelly beans away after they gave me a stomach ache, but I have a beer. Does that count? A beer. Thank you. Oh, Kate, I'm so sorry to hear that. Boo. You're like freaking, what's the manager of Billy's name? The one who was Czech, very stern.
Lucy?
Lucy. Oh, thank you. You're relating to Lucy right now, Kate, in the worst ways. What is that? What is this thing? Oh, it's Kate. She gave me the heads up and then that happened. That's very funny. Here we go. We've got into, you guys want to talk it out? Robin, you asked Lisa a question, but you're both online. Do you want to talk about it?
I was just saying, because I know she reads probably more romance than me. And so I'd like to know what
she reads more romance than anyone I've ever met.
All of us combined.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever put myself into place when I'm reading books. And I don't know if it's just because I don't picture anything when I read books. I don't know if that's part of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't put myself into characters' places, but I think I just, as overall, I read for escapism.
Yeah.
So I kind of disassociate.
Your accent gets stronger when you're sick.
I don't have an accent.
I don't have an accent.
I'm from Ohio.
Yes, you
I'm not
do have an
Southern.
accent. You have an Ohio accent.
Yeah, I'm hearing it. It's usually.
My mom had a coworker who was British, but she'd lived here forever, and she'd be like, "What are you talking about? I don't have an accent. You all have accents."
Mum and I don't have accents. How Australian does my mum sound? Be honest.
Real Australian.
Okay, well, you're not supposed
Even
to
more
answer
Australian than you.
That. It is okay.
Well,
She
yeah.
does sound more Aussie than me.
Very Australian.
Yeah, I play with a lot of Australians, and she's pretty much in the middle of them.
Mum, do you think my accent's softened? Do I sound more American now that I've been gone for 10 years?
I find accents really hard. I mean, I don't know. It seems to me that everybody sounds a little bit the same more than they ever have before. Does that make sense? I think we're sort of converging on one sort of accent in a way. I mean, I can hear a little bit of that lady that was just talking a minute ago, but it's
Mum, listen to Terry talk. Terry, talk to my mother. He's like, oh, God, don't make me do this. I don't want to.
This is the Ohio lady.
No, this is French Canadian.
Oui,
okay.
c'est français, so I have a French accent when I speak in English.
Okay.
Did I just make my point?
Yes, well, that is a different accent. Now, I don't know. With you, I can't kind of discern the change. You sound as if you're just Maude.
Well,
so I'm not perceiving a real shift in sound, if you like.
that was a very technical way to say it. No, I haven't noticed. I went back and looked at some clips from Nickelodeon, and I can tell you right now, my accent
so it's
has
quite
changed.
different, is it?
Yes.
All right, okay.
It used to sound like, what did I used to do? Hello, my name's Mumma Garrett, and welcome to Camp Orange. It used to be like that.
You didn't sound like
I
that.
did. I'm not saying this because I'm proud of it. I'm not boasting right now. I'm getting, actually, now that I'm talking to you, I can hear my accent getting stronger again. No, I tried to round it out a little bit more, Mother, because I'm quite a civilized person, having moved overseas, and Americans originally not being able to understand a word I said, because I talked so fast and I ran my words on, and I would say something really funny and everyone would be like staring at me going, what? And I was like,
what?
I know, I've got to do, K Frito says I sound like Lilith. I'm going to do a few videos. If you're playing Diablo 4, the lead villain has a great voice, and I was going to do some videos doing the voice. Isn't that right, Adam? Mum, I play video games with Adam. I've mentioned him to you before. He pops by the stream sometimes and says some things. Mum doesn't care. Cool.
No, which one is Adam? Sorry, is it somebody that I'm looking at, or is it somebody that is talking? No. Okay.
He's in. Oh, Adam. He's in the chat. So there's a chat that's live streamed, and he just wrote no.
Well, I can't find the chat.
Oh no, we don't.
I'll see your faces.
Oh, everyone wave to my mum. Hello. Oh, that's cute.
Hello.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
I'm
cute.
watching you all.
Oh, that's cute. So, with your theory now, Mother, how long until we all actually do have a global accent with the
Well, I think
increase
it
of
is
media?
emerging towards a global accent. I think on television and on film, we seem to have a merging sort of accent. Everybody has the same sort of sounding voice, sounding accent. What do they call it? Transatlantic.
Yeah, but
So
we
I think,
no, it used to be so much more. Sorry to disagree with you so publicly, Mother, but it used to be like the radio broadcast voice used to sound like this. And in 1962, Philip Tanner decided that he would walk up the street and pat a dog. And no one sounds like that anymore. So it's like devolving from a transatlantic.
Yes. You calling that a transatlantic, are you?
Yes.
Okay.
What is it?
Don't have one of those.
Am I wrong? Oh no, I don't want to be wrong now. Transatlantic. I see voice.
They kind of did that voice though, because back then, like old timey radios and that kind of stuff wasn't the greatest sound, so they had to over enunciate everything so that it would come across. So you
the
could
broadcast
understand
voice says
the same
Avery.
way of like when my mom watches It's a Wonderful Life every Christmas, and I call it It's a Shouty Life because their microphones were so awful that they're all shouting.
Oh,
That
makes more sense. So we're just gonna get softer then. We're all gonna communicate via like ASMR and just like click on microphones as like Morse code. I don't know if I like ASMR. Do you know what ASMR is, Mum?
No.
Good. Okay, great. Yes, well, on the topic of old-timey stuff, says Catch-22, singing in the rain was actually singing in the milk. That was milk, so you could see the raindrops. He's viciously shaking his head up and down.
Yeah, in old black and white movies, water didn't show up on camera, so to get it so you could see it, they just did milk. So he was singing in the milk, and that's gross.
Here's another one for everyone. When you do anything that's like whipped cream, like a cream pie, it's shaving cream because actual cream sets real fast, and so they fudge it. And so if you have to, I don't know, smash 10 cream pies into your face while pouring chocolate milk on your head, which I can speak from experience. Kate, down! No, bad girl. I'm not approving that. We are not approving that comment. I know you, Kate. It's my mum's here. My mum's here. No, Adam. He approved the comment. No, you're all in timeout. Adam, you're in timeout. You're in timeout. Milk in cereal advertisement is glue. Milk is glue. Oh, so it stays set. Oh gosh.
It's also paint in milk commercials.
It's paint. So, Mum, do you remember I did a KFC ad? Probably not. Mum?
I do.
So they had a food prepper that like had to prep the food to make it look perfect. And of course I'm doing the close up and then I have to eat it. And they're like, you can just spit it out. We've got a bucket next to you, just spit it. Me? Nah. I got a free lunch shooting this commercial. I ate every single one.
What were you eating?
There was
were you actually eating food?
It was chicken. It was actually chicken, but it was like prepped a little bit. They had gloves. It just looked great. And I was like, that looks really good. I'll eat it. And they're like, to spit it out. You're going to have to do this like 10 more times. I'm like, then we do it 10 more times. We broke for lunch and I was like, I've already eaten. That was nice. But yeah, everyone else is a bit precious, not from me. Avery says, all this from talking about whether or not we like seeing ourselves in stories. I love this book club. Joe and I were both in KFC ads before SourceFed. There you go. Hello, Blue Reader Gal. Lovely to have you in here. Jump to food. Interesting conversation tonight. Adam, can you be on better behavior? My mother is here, please. Just putting that in there. Oh, naughty. We don't do tangents here, says Tim. No. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is the magic. Was magic just a convenient storytelling glue to tie the story together? Can't explain it? Magic. Mum's like, this chick should stink. No, she doesn't. Why? Magic.
I kind of liked the idea of the paranormal element as a little bit of a, I thought it was interesting, and to me it seemed a little bit like a mystery that we have to solve. So I was sort of reading it almost like a murder mystery, but there was no murder. Well,
that would have been more exciting, Mum.
Yeah, but it was kind of an unfolding of a mystery, and who, you knew that Augie was going to have had some connection at some stage with Jane. I mean, that was sort of a given, and there was no surprises there. But you did sort of want to know, well, how does this author in an urban fantasy manage to sort of make something believable that's kind of very weird, that sort of satisfies her readers. And I was very keen to know how she was going to do it, where you'd go, oh yeah, I kind of accept that. So the 20,000 volts of electricity sort of I went, oh, okay.
Dragons Roses says the magic / mystery element was the most interesting bit to me, plus the found family section. K. Fredo says the answer is magic. Vaden says, Nico being a psychic, time travel, Jane's bowels, all made of magic. That was very funny. But then KP Dubs comes in with actual hard science. What you said was more of an explanation than anything I've had in this entire book. So can you please explain what the situation was with your quantum flux? What is that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. Well, backing up the question like 40 minutes ago, I gave the book a part of 5. I like the characters, the story. What I thought was a little off was just how easy they solved this sort of weird scientific problem. Yes, they had like an MIT grad, but that wasn't what their focus in life was. But anyways, so yeah, in quantum science, not too crazy, but there's something called uncertainty principle. You can never know exactly where something is or how fast it's going at the same time. So things can be in two places at once, sort of. And so that's what happened. When they tried to bring Jane back, she didn't appear right away. It took a little while for the science to catch up.
What if present Jane and 70s Jane were both in present time and present Jane tried to kill past Jane? Fuck yeah, that's exciting. I'd read that.
For that.
That's a different story.
That's the point I'm making. I would have liked something more. Like, if we're going to dangle this quantum flux carrot, I just think, you know what? I love Blake Crouch as a sci-fi author. He does really good, hard sci-fi that really tackles the complex, multiverse, breaking time, timelines. And I feel like if you're going to mess with it, like, if you're going to mess with time, it has consequences. Let's look at what some of these consequences are instead of like a paragraph on thinking she was dead. Yeah, what was some of the entanglement though? Yeah, thank you, Thierry. You get it. Like, we want, that. Like, how cool would that be? If like present Jane was the one who's like, I changed my name on purpose because I don't want you to find her and I don't want you to save her because I'm living this timeline and it's mine. And if you save her, I might not exist anymore. Oh, that's exciting. I needed maybe a little bit more thriller. I don't know. Neato, says Pylang. That would be cool for sure, but this book is too cheery for that, says Vaden.
It's a bit too cheery. I think I'm butting in, but it's a bit too cheery. Everything seems to be resolved very easily and efficiently, and it's almost like, I don't know, as a gay writer, that she's just kind of not wanting to upset anything. She's just wanting to sort of unfold this.
Oh, actually, I didn't tell you this
narrative.
Sorry, Mother, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do feel like it's an important piece of information that I apologize for not telling you about before. Casey McQuiston, non-binary. They, them.
Okay, all right.
I apologize.
Well,
I should have let you know.
that part of the book where it was just that the sexuality was kind of just there. There was no kind of labeling, and in fact, I think at some stage they sort of said, what is it? Virginity is a social construct. I thought the idea that where are you guys?
No, we're here. Hi, hello.
I thought the idea of not, sort of just not allowing. That's the wrong word. Just having this very disparate group of people that were so accepting of one another, and there was no labeling. It just was, and I really liked that part of the book, that this was just a group of people that everybody just accepted easily.
Yes.
And there was no sort of argument, no discourse about it almost, because it was just a given. And I liked that part about the book. I thought that was really good. But I do wonder whether, if you're a gay writer and you're writing a gay novel, how hard is it to kind of not upset the apple cart, if you like?
Yeah, or push the envelope, or
what are you trying to achieve as a gay writer in writing a book like this? It's very sweet, it's very rounded, there's no real conflict in it.
Well, I think that
everybody's nice.
We were talking about that last week. Usually queer and gay stories or trans stories are showing the pain of it all. It's the characters are like, my mother didn't accept me. Wes got kicked out. More often than not, queer stories do focus on the pain and the discourse and the lack of acceptance.
There is that in this story, because you've got.
But I
Augie,
think that's what sets it
town.
apart. But that's kind of what sets it apart. It's like, having it be easy and without immense amount of pain, or family disowning, or
well, what do other people think about that? The idea that the 21st century concept of sexuality is kind of easy, if you like. I mean, does that? Am I talking shit?
Pylang earlier said I was a social construct for far too long. Which I thought was very cute. Hold on. Why swear? When did I swear? What did I say? What did I say? My mum's here. What did I say? Did she say, because mum said, that's for my mum. My mum swore. Mother. We have a swear count on here, and I saw it just go off, and I was like, I've been on my best behavior, and I realized you've dropped a shit bomb. I'm going back.
Yes, I have. I'm asking, am I talking shit? I mean, what do other people think about what I'm saying? Does that make sense, or is it? I mean, talk to me, guys.
I think it's a really hard thing unless someone is queer or can relate to that particular type of story. I guess a lot of us are used to reading very heteronormative stories, and so I think any kind of conversation is a good conversation to have, and I really liked how they dealt with, here's the burning question that people are always asking, and we're going to address it and not make a big song and dance over it. It's going to be a quick answer that's going to, give you what you need from that the question in a response in a normal way, instead of it being like a right now that you.
Well, we're having a lesson. We're not having a lesson in how hard it all is.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. What was that, Kate?
What was the wording of the question again?
Mum wants. Oh, that's actually great. I can't remember anymore. Mother. Do we like that?
I'm trying to think of what I was saying. I was saying, how difficult is it for a gay author to try and, what is it that she's trying to get across? What do you, the reader, think she's trying to get across as a gay writer in a contemporary sort of setting? Sorry, not gay.
They, I'm saying They.
They.
You keep saying the author is she. It is they.
Sorry,
There
I
you
am
go.
saying that because I've been thinking of her as a she
You're
for
still doing
the
it.
last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
They.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
what is it that they are trying to get across? I think every book has a message. Whoever you are as a writer, and I don't know whether Darcy's still on, whoever you are as a writer, there's always something that you want to get across. And I'm wondering what is it that she is trying to get across as an LGBTQI writer?
Avery's left a comment. Do you want to have a chat about that one, Avery? I really like what you said.
It's not easy. So it being easy in this book is part of what makes the book so attractive, at least to me. Like, I love the idea of, a world where it is easy. And I think that that's what Casey McQuiston was going for. I think they were trying to create this escapism, this world where it doesn't matter, because it does matter, unfortunately, in our society. So, having that as an option and being able to escape into this world where it doesn't matter is
so that's sort of her part of the fantasy.
Yeah.
Well, that it could be reality, that it is someone's reality and it's becoming more of a reality.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really big part of the book, that love, that acceptance, that, I thought that was one of the nicest parts of the book.
I think that if this was set in like a small bumpkin town, it would be a very different story. But I think the fact that the setting is in Brooklyn, in New York, in present day, yes. Kate, who is your pseudo daughter now, Mum, from a previous book club, I'm just getting in there before she calls you Mum and you get weird. Kate would like to say something and add to the conversation, even though she's recognizing that it's a hornet's nest of a question. Go, Kate.
Well, because that's dovetails into what I was saying earlier about the like male versus female, like being put on a pedestal. There's this whole idea of that we need to not have gay trauma as a subject matter anymore. That's like, no, we need to just have these like softer stories. But now there's a discourse that if you don't write soft stories, it's like a betrayal of the community. Like, like the younger terminally online queer community are like, how dare you write these like sad stories now? It needs to be soft and fluffy, and it's like that's not the reality for most queer people still, even in like our North American society where we're a lot freer than most countries in the world. So it's a huge discourse where it's like all these queer writers are being put on a pedestal and being judged extremely harshly for the content that they're putting out, usually by other queer people, because it's like, I want to see myself in this. No, that's not and it's like the usual like online discourse. It's like, well, that's not what my life is like. How dare you write about that? Like, because there's no nuance for different experiences, and there's like, I don't want to read about trauma. And so it's like one of those things where people are like arguing about which ones that should be the forefront of what is being put out there as content. But it's like, why not both?
That's exactly. I was just about to say that. I was like, the solution's so clear. It feels like sort of queer stories, even though they've been shared over the decades, there's a lot more space and acceptance for it today more than ever. And so multifaceted stories and angles and experiences, like, I think the problem is trying to umbrella one fits all of this, because no two people really have the same experience with it all. So the more stories that are told, the better it is. So if someone does want something a little bit more soft and gentle because they want to know that something like that can happen, or they want to escape into soft and fluffy because their reality is not so great, this is a fantastic book where you will feel celebrated, where you have hope that you will find your family.
in every marginalized community too, because you'll get like African American authors who it's like get ripped apart because they're not telling quote unquote the Black story correctly. It's like,
but it's
just
their
because you're
story.
Black doesn't mean you're the same as every other. Like one person does not speak for an entire community, but when you're in a marginalized community, you're put on these pedestals of having to be a paragon of creating content.
Yeah.
So, like,
and people are funneling through them. You betrayed me.
It's a very hard question to answer.
Ooh, that's a good conversation, though.
As a corollary to that, my question, I've been reading quite a lot of different books, and every book has a sort of a queer theme in some way or other. And I'm wondering how influential are these published? Well, it isn't in my book. Pretty much every book I've read in the last year has had some sort of either major or minor queer character or characters, I suppose. But what my point is, are publishing houses kind of pushing this sort of queer explosion, if you like?
Well, Kate works at a bookshop. Kate works at a bookshop, so knows the influx of books.
But my question, Kate, is how influential are these publishing houses? And is this, I kind of think if I was a queer person, I would feel very insulted that I've become a trend and that people are pushing me to be publishing my sort of story or whatever.
But you're not, Mum. But you're not queer. Unless you are queer. And this is a really cool coming out episode where my mum says that she's queer.
I think that you're probably curating. I think you're probably curating your writing or reading. I mean, like, and it just happened that way because still 80% of writing is still straight white, and it all depends on what the publishers push forward. So, like, I read mostly queer content, but it's because that's what I choose to read. But a lot of the books that come out are still the norm. It's still a very white industry. It's still a very hetero industry. All the biggest bestsellers are usually of that status norm, and there might be like minor characters and stuff. But if you're reading a lot of like YA, because that's a totally different thing, because that mostly is more online support. Like you're seeing a lot more of that stuff online as opposed to like in the store. And I mean, TikTok pushes a lot of stuff, but at the same time, TikTok can be very, in terms of like what we see as books that are very popular, it's still very, you know, racist and homophobic. And like, you know, when you go into like these like book talk communities, the comments can get very like, yikes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Colleen Hoover is selling book out the door. She doesn't have any queer content. She's the most popular author right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. It's just the ones that I've been reading. I've seemed to have been a little bit skewed in the.
Yeah, well, you're curating your reading, but
if you're only getting books from in the closet, if that's where your bookcase is.
Yeah, no, it's book club. I mean, books that we pick out. There's about 12 people in our book club, and they pick out a book, and they all seem to have this theme sort of coming through.
But when you think about it, Mum,
10 years ago that wasn't the case.
Yeah, because that's where storytelling is now. Like, nothing has changed really. Like, there were always gay people, there were always trans people, there was always drag, but now we are able to have a platform where different stories are being encouraged to be told. And so that's why there's almost been permission to be able to share it.
Who are the encouragers?
I think society. I think that we have, with the introduction of social media, sharing people's stories, people are being able to have more voice more than ever. I think that I don't think it's fair to say that queer stories are a trend, but I think that society has given, for like the first time ever, permission for these stories to be celebrated.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of an insult in there somewhere.
But you're not gay, Mum.
I know I'm not gay, Maude, but that doesn't mean that I can't. It doesn't. This is a different conversation. I think.
It is. You're being insulted on behalf of the queer community, are you?
I am. I do. I feel it's a bit
okay. Lyndall, the ally. She's just an ally.
I think has to do with a lot with just capitalism. Like it's become more marketable. Like those kind of books, the kind of characters, people are liking it more. People are recognizing it more. So it's just more popular in respect, and that's all. I don't think it's being pushed necessarily. More than just like more people are recognizing it, more people are seeing it, and so therefore more books are being written about it. So it just becomes naturally more.
But I mean, you just said earlier yourself, oh, that was beer. I'm going to wait for the burp count to go. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Mum. You have raised a lady, but beer gets me mid-sentence every time. You just said earlier that you liked seeing yourself in characters and you don't feel like it happens very often, but when it does, it's an exciting thing. I think there are a lot of queer people that are really excited that they're seeing themselves in a particular shape or form, and that's why the popularity is there. And if the popularity is there and money's being made, and that's, greed runs everything, then that's a win. But 110 burps. Oh, bugger.
I was thinking there is a little bit of an uptick in the trend of like queer art being out there. I think where some people think that it's really exploding is the fact that there's all the negative press from people that hate it.
Right.
And that's bringing so much attention to it, whether good or bad. People think it's out there 50 times more prevalently than it is. That can be a thing where you're like, oh man, it's everywhere. Really not. But these people over here who really no business even thinking about it are talking about
really loudly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that we've got a really diverse community here to be able to weigh on it. We have Kate who sees the books that are coming in and is across, most genres of what is trending and what is in at the moment. So to kind of get that fact check of no, still a lot of straight white guys that are running books, or the best-selling books don't have any kind of queer stories in it at all. I think that's really helpful information when we have this conversation, especially Mum, when you're asking those sorts of questions, we can actually get an answer for it instead of opinions. Colleen says, I think we're noticing more, just like it was so noticeable when people of color started being normalized on TV. I know it started being like, whoa, every show now, and it's like, well, it's not even every show. It's barely every show. It's only some shows, but we're so used to it being one show that the fact that it's like more than that is wow. You're noticing it. Exactly. Kate says, I've got a small bookstore. The romance section's still 90% straight white. I still get giddy when I see someone who is brown or queer, or a queer couple book come in. That's sweet. Pailing says it's still not even normalized, We're still getting there. Oh, yeah, your hairdressers are great. They help. Mum, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. No, it's a different. I mean, it's possibly a different country as well in terms of what people are reading and different groups of people and stuff. But yeah, no, that does. It sort of puts it in perspective because I'm seeing something that's just not quite real.
If you go into the Discord and if you're a member, Terry's posted my KFC commercial that got dubbed in Romanian. It got dubbed in Romanian. That is 24-year-old Maude. So that was like 4 years ago. 24-year-old Maude only got the job because I decided after Nickelodeon I was going to cut my hair really short and get my identity back and, be the badass girl that it wasn't on kids' television anymore. And I had a really slow year of work, and I remember I didn't know if I was going to pay rent, and my agent from 4 years before said, or 2 years earlier said, do you remember doing a KFC commercial? And I was like, yeah. She's like, Romania picked it up. I'm sending you 10 grand. And I was like, okay, great. That saved me, that ad. I would have had to have moved back to Brisbane. I'm waiting for Mum to say something. She has an opinion on that. We just had someone pop in. Jay Buntrock, are you there? Jay Buntrock? That's another one that just says J ... Jay Buntrock, are you there? I want to hear what you think of the book. Not Brisbane. Well, if you're there, I'd love to, maybe you could type it in the chat what you're giving this book out of 5. Mum, do you think we kind of touched upon the fact that one of the biggest sort of themes of the book was not only found family, but the sense of home, that they kind of one and the same?
What was the sense of family and the sense of home?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were talking about the mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah, let's get stuck into that.
We haven't talked about that. I mean, that's probably the one conflict in the book, in a way.
True. The mum's been withholding information
well,
about
the family in California, Jane's family in California, and the family in New Orleans. Mum, obsessive hoarder mum. That's where the conflict is. That's where August's disappointment comes. She's worked her ass off for this mum who's been investigating, Augie's disappearance, but she's also kept secrets from her daughter around family, and she's deprived her of family.
There was a really interesting point. I wrote about it when I first was taking notes about this, and I remember, oh, come on. Of course I can't find it. Why did notes do this? Why can't I just look at notes? One last stop for Mum. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the implications of a mother driving home the us versus the world mentality?
Good question, Maude. Well, what are the consequences for August of that? I mean, her loss of self, her self-esteem, her lack of, I suppose, recklessness. I was going to say. I mean, the nice thing about Jane and August is that Jane kind of pulled her out of herself a little bit, made her more reckless, made her more adventuresome, made her more
loosened up a little.
Yeah, certainly loosened her up a lot. And I think her mother has been very restrictive and very controlling, and, and I think they probably love each other as a mother and daughter couple. But I think her escaping out of wherever she was from, going to different universities and then going to New York, she's recognised that the grasp that her mother's and the restriction her mother's had on her, not because of her sexuality, but just as a
mother.
A mother. Yeah, and I think a lot of this story is about August sort of breaking free of her mother's kind of tentacles in a way, her mother's control. I don't know, maybe control isn't quite the right word.
It's almost
but that
like
idea.
isolation. She isolated August from her grandparents. She's isolated August from stability. I always thought it was quite interesting in the beginning of the book. You realize that her mother's a hoarder, and she fits her whole life in 4 to 5 boxes. So it's like her, August is trying to sort of unlearn the behavior that her mum could have taught her.
Yes, but at the same token, or what she has learned is of value because it's going to drive her future.
Exactly, like being this detective, being...
Yeah. So everything she's learned has been of value. But yes, I think it's more the fact that she's deprived her of something that she's never had a choice about. She hasn't had a choice about her family down there, and even though her mother has distanced herself from her family, she's automatically distanced herself from her daughter from that family as well, and she's had no choice around that. So I thought that was quite important.
I do too. I also think that she was never really a mother. She August even said that. It felt like her mum was sort of like her friend, or treated her like a friend or a colleague or an assistant. She's like, I feel like you only had me so that I could assist your case. And that they didn't really sort of have a very mother-daughter sort of bond. Because she was so obsessed with this case, and it just took over.
Yes. Well,
Like
it was
being
nice
being a mum was
August
so far down the list, you know, being the sister was more important. The case was more important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And that means that she's prioritized Augie, a person that's not in her life at all, for August, who is in her life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
yeah, look, I like that. I think there's a lot in this little book. If you tease it apart and pull it apart a little bit, I think there's some really good things in it. Yeah.
If you,
what does anybody else think?
Wait, tell me if I'm
too much.
Tell me if I'm overstepping. But if Susette came to you for therapy and told you her situation, what would you try to get Susette to realize? What conclusions?
Oh, that's a tough question, Maude. Well, I think I'd be looking at the mother-daughter relationship and what she sees in having a daughter, what sort of relationship she wants to have in a daughter. And I think she'd probably she would reveal that, well, I wanted more of an assistant than I wanted as a daughter. And I suspect August is the one that sort of feeds her and cares for her while she's running around breaking into things and doing all those sorts of investigative things. So I suspect, in a way, August has been a bit of a parent.
But doesn't necessarily feel responsible for her mother, though.
Not when she leaves. I mean, she severed those ties by going to uni. And I think she's probably very grateful for whoever's been paying for her university fees so that she could get out of Dodge, you know.
No, she's in debt. She's in uni debt.
No, but... Well, somebody's been paying her uni fees.
No, someone was paying her school tuition. Mama cut that off at 18, so she got student debt. And she was kind of like, yes. And because she felt safe studying, so she kept changing subjects instead of ever graduating, the debt just piled up. And she was kind of saying to her mum, how dare you stop that financial help that I actually really could have used, because you didn't want.
But she didn't use it. She didn't pay off her debt when she got the money.
No, she gave it to me. That made no fucking sense to me. I thought that was stupid. 15 grand.
You've got. I'm swearing more.
Oh, sorry. But you've got a brand new girlfriend who's starting her life with only the clothes on her body and a backpack. It's like, that is so expensive. So you're going to give it to this place that you've worked at for 6 months? I mean, you raised them $60,000 already. That's the gift. Use that $15,000 to buy the nice bed, pay off your student loans.
Technically, Jane wasn't back at that point, though.
Oh, that's true. That is so true. You're right. And she thought that her heart was broken, and yeah, I don't need this. It secured her and Jane a job. That's true. That's, pay $15,000 to make $15,000 over 2 years. The return on interest investment. But more about Susette and August and the mother-daughter relationship. Does anyone want to weigh in on that dynamic? Has anyone got any thoughts? I know that Mum and I had a big chat about it. We're mother and daughter. Go, Jimmy.
Yeah, I obviously am not
a mother or a daughter. Yeah, that we know of. Yep.
I'm pretty sure. But I always think about the dynamic I had with my mother. You know what I mean? Because like with August and her mother Susette, there are conversations that they have, and it's mostly, for lack of a better term, surface level. It's just like, oh, what are you doing? I'm doing this, blah blah blah. And then when it gets serious, it's more like I can't talk to you about this, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was very similar to with my mother, like with me. Like when I would have a situation, and I would, like what you do when you have a situation, you call your parents. At least that's what I do. And my dad was always easily understandable. He was just like, whatever you need, I got you. My mom was like, man up, do something, don't bother us, do your own thing. kind of thing. But at the same time, she still cared. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of that dichotomy that was going on with Susette and August, where it was like they do love each other, but there's a certain toleration level.
Yes. And it's almost like be independent. You know, I don't want to have to mother you through this. Go figure it out. I'm busy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was exactly my mom. My mom was like, don't waste my time, move on. And my dad was like, oh, sure, I'll help you. You know, so it's a interesting dynamic. But yeah, very similar to the conversation with Susette and the mother.
Vaden did a follow-up question. Do you think Suzette's all about tough love?
I just generally think that Suzette's a terrible mother. That's just my opinion.
Hold on.
You know, because
was this a confession?
Confession? No, this has nothing to do with my mother. I'm just saying Susette in general is a terrible mother.
Okay.
Because
just from where I was sitting, it was like, Suzette's exactly like my mother, but Suzette's a terrible mother. Not related.
She's a fictional person. Your mother is a real person. You know, I don't share the same thoughts that you have in that regard. I'm just talking about the fictional character, Susette.
Yeah.
Susette is... You don't want me to share this?
No. I just don't think we're on the same page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I was telling you before, is that the reason why I think that she's not a good mother is because, like, I believe your mother said something along the lines of...
My mother?
Yes. Your mother was saying along the lines about how, like, if someone were to prioritize someone in their life more than someone that's a stranger, you know what I mean? I believe that's what you were saying. So,
Mum, were you saying that?
You correct me if you want.
It wasn't a stranger. No, she was prioritizing someone that wasn't alive.
Yes,
that wasn't alive.
Yes, he's right. It's exactly what I was saying.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying, like, again, not a doctor or anything like that, but I would think that if it's someone that you care about, you're going to put them on a higher priority. That's all.
Got it.
Yeah.
Whew. Pailing says, everyone call your mother.
I wish I could.
Call your mother. Kate says, Susette also has mental illness as a hoarder. Mum, do you know much about hoarding?
I have a son who is a hoarder, Maude.
Yeah. Yep. I have a brother. Yep. But he's,
I do know a little bit about hoarding.
But like, where does it come from? Because Jack's mentality is, I could need it. I could need this box. We cannot throw this box out. There's every chance I could need it. But what's
I don't know. Look, I honestly don't know the psychology of hoarding. I mean,
that's what's interesting.
There are sort of attaching characteristics, I think, to ASD.
Whoa.
Some people.
ASD.
Some
slow
people
down. Autism. I should have known that one. That was on me.
I think they've reclassified it. Sorry,
hold
what was that?
Okay.
Hoarding, like your mother was saying, they attach feelings to objects. It's linked to a lot of different mental illnesses, and a lot of people, it could come from like poverty. So if you're poor and you start end up coming into, you don't have to worry about everything, you start keeping everything because you're terrified of having nothing again. But it can also come from a fear of loss. It can come from a loss of control. It can come from OCD. So there's different ways that it can come, but it's like they are physically incapable of throwing things away, and it's like causes like a panic disorder. So Susette, obviously, if she's hoarding, there's something going on there. Like,
well, I feel like it's memories. Like she's having to hold on to 1973 when she last had information.
And that's the thing. It's like people get stuck in the things they're hoarding. They can't let them go to the point that they're not living a life of anything because they're too busy like worrying about all this stuff that they're hoarding. So with Susette, she's holding on to the past so much that she's not being the
letting
life
it
around her,
go.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, physically, mentally.
Yeah.
The act
So
of letting go.
obviously she can't be
And the question is,
Oh,
of her
Mum,
daughter.
don't interrupt. Sorry, I love you. I love you. I love you, Mum. I love you. Sorry, I snapped.
She obviously can't be a proper mother to August because, you know, when someone's has undiagnosed mental illness, they're, you know, not in a right mind to be something, you know, as important as a mother to someone else. You know what I mean?
Thank you. That makes
And
sense
I
with
think-
the Susette big time. Go, Mum.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Kate. And the other thing too is what happens to Susette now that she knows the end point of Augie?
Well, she's going to do kickboxing, Mother.
She's got nothing on her plate.
She might
She's
take
got
up
nothing
art.
to concentrate on. She might take up art. She might.
There was a
to-
slight dialogue of that. She was saying, I've spent my entire life and my entire identity was around finding and solving this case. And now that it's happened, what do I do with my life?
Maybe she can take some time to repair her relationship with August.
Maybe she could. Robin's on the books getting the money. We need to charge by the hour for that stuff. That's exactly right. Hoarding disorder is an ongoing difficulty throwing away or parting with possessions because you believe you need to save them. You may experience distress at the thought of getting rid of the items. You gradually keep or gather a huge number of items regardless of their actual value. Now, the main cause of hoarding. Some researchers believe hoarding can relate to childhood experiences of losing things, not owning things, or people not caring for you. Mum, since you've just admitted to having a son who hoards.
Thanks, Maude.
Yeah. Which of those do you think, what did you throw out of Jack's that has ruined him?
I do not know.
We'll get to it, though. We'll get to the bottom of that one, won't we? Stay tuned on Good Lord, What is Wrong with This Family? Coming up next. That's interesting. You know what? Things might include, I mean, what if I think, we'll talk about that off the camera. But I think Jack's is a little more explained. But I just thought you might have known more of like the psychological part of it instead of outing someone that we love. Hey, anyway, moving on.
Not a conversation, Maude.
Yeah, I know. Look, now that we have talked about the fact that Susette probably wasn't the best mother figure, is only just sort of learning about contemporary terms of gender fluidity, is trying to learn about her daughter and seems to be kind of switched on by some things. Oh, your voice gets excited and therefore you're hiding this, or, you know, I know a lot about you, but I don't really know anything about the current day you. How do you think August, being 23, moving out on her own, and now not having anyone, any immediate family support, do you think that's better for August or worse? And do you think that's why she has sort of gravitated and latched onto Jane in the way that she has? Anyone? Mum?
Well, anyone else?
Should just pass that one straight off. Kate? Colleen? Robin? Avery? Lisa? Is August
What was the question
is
again?
August better or worse off being far away from her mother? And do you think that now that she's got absolutely no immediate family, that that's why she's kind of latched onto Jane and needs her more?
I think she probably is better off being away from her mom, because in some ways, some things about her mom, I mean, her mom was really extreme, but in some ways it reminded me of growing up. My mother used to tell us what we could feel and what we couldn't feel.
Yeah, you said that took you a while to kind of get past.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that if you want.
Well, just that, for instance, if we would get angry, you know, you can hate somebody and love somebody at the same time. But she'd say, oh, no, you can't hate your brother. You can't hate your kids. You can't, you know, I mean, she was always telling us what we felt. And so it still sometimes I feel I love my mother. She was a tremendous example to other people. People are always telling me how generous she was, but I feel a disconnect with her, just because, I mean, we were close in some ways, but I know my sister just mourns her. And I just kind of feel like I'd lost her at some point way
Earlier.
before.
That's interesting. Like emotional denial, that's kind of hard because it's that sort of thing again with Susette and August, where she's like, I'm right here, I'm right in front of you, but she feels so invisible. And I think when someone's telling you how to feel and how to think and, you know, what your behavior should be or how you should be handling situations, it makes you feel invisible because you're like, but you're not hearing me. You're denying sort of my experience in this moment. Did you kind of relate to August in that way then?
Yes, in that aspect, I did. I could understand a lot of her feelings because, yes, it does make you feel kind of invisible.
Yeah.
I grew up with kind of a group mentality rather than as a person. I always thought of us or we because I just felt like I was part of this, I don't know, family. That the family was an organism. But I don't know if this is kind of an overlapping thing. But yeah, you kind of feel invisible.
Yeah.
You don't trust your own emotions. You deny your feelings. So yeah, it was. In fact, it wasn't until I left home, kind of like August, that was the first time I really started feeling like me, or starting to discover myself in a way.
By removing yourself and without that voice of like, you need to do this, you need to say that or feel this, you're able to kind of like rediscover who you are.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fantastic. It's a really hard thing though, because, you know, you can't choose your family. And I know that a lot of parents are doing the best that they can, but there are so many things that will leave sort of permanent marks. And that's really, really hard. It's hard to sort of navigate that. And it's hard to, you know, reflect back in that time of being like, you know, they tried their best, but at the same time, I had to relearn behaviors. I had to rediscover my identity. I had to find people that could actually let me exist, which is why found family is a very, very important. And I mean, I really love the found family genre. Why it is really important because it's, you know, people that you choose to be in your life that truly love you and accept you for who you are, and you get to go, this is completely me, and they say, great, we love you for that. Like, we absolutely adore that. How can we help? How can we support? Because yeah, not everyone in your life is able to provide that for you. And I think that that's why found family is especially important in queer communities, where I think acceptance rate is higher because some parents just cannot come to terms with accepting their children like that, which hopefully is getting better and better every single day. It really does depend on how, you know, what values people are raised in. But that's why I think, especially those that are in a smaller town and they're like, you know what, I'm going to go to the big city where I'm going to find a bunch more people that have different perspectives and, you know, will relate to me as a person a lot better. Yes, Vaden?
Just kind of similar to what Colin was talking about. Basically, yeah, that it's very important for her to move out because not only did she meet all these new people but she grew a lot over the course of this, you know, like 8 months or so. She met Jane. Like, she went from being, you know, pretty shy, not very adventurous in general, to literally jumping on the tracks and almost, you know, committing suicide essentially to save someone she loves.
Yeah. Well, actually, Robin makes a really good point that it took her a bit to get there. That initially, actually, Robin, I'll get you to say it, that August is kind of doing exactly what her mum did.
Yeah, well, Jane brought it up at one point with how August instantly was like, we need to solve this. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And Jane's like, I don't want to know.
Yeah,
Like,
you didn't ask me what I want from this. You've just gone into fix and solve it mode.
Yeah, so she kind of turned into her mom at that point where she was like, we have this thing we need to solve. We need to only focus on this right now.
Yeah. Instead of it being, yeah, this is your thing. And she kind of did it at the end as well. She's like, I just took the liberty of doing all this research on your family and it's all in this folder. All you have to do is open it because I've made the decision for you already. No.
But she did also give, at that point, she did say, you can open this when you want.
I would actually feel pretty betrayed that they did that without even asking permission to do so if it's my family. Luckily Jane's like, I love you, you can't do anything wrong. Yeah, I've made this decision for you, which is exactly Colleen's point of someone deciding something on your behalf and you kind of feeling powerless because they're just going to do it anyway. Colleen also said, I became a lot more forgiving of my mother when I realized how many mistakes I was making with my own children. And I'm sure exactly the same, Colleen, you did the absolute best that you could. And I'm sure you did a fantastic job. But I think that those realities really face you when you're in it. And you're like, oh, I'm no longer the child, I'm the mother in this. And so I can see that different perspective. And that's really helpful for me to understand what this is like. Any other things? We spoke about the magic. We spoke about the ending, which some people thought was happy. Some people thought was predictable. We spoke about Augie and, Augie is the side plot being a little convenient also. But that tied in.
The music?
Oh, yeah, Terry, you posted the Spotify link of all the songs from the book. Did you not? As soon as you posted that in the chat, I was like, my mum's going to love this.
Yes, all the songs that were mentioned in the book, and someone did a compilation of songs that fits the book.
Ah, that's cool. Some people do like to listen to the music while reading. Mum, what did you think of the music? It's a little bit more your decade than mine.
I liked the fact that there was music all through it. There seemed, Jane on the train, and I don't know that I even listened to Joy Division, I think, for a little while. I was reading it, but I think it sort of enriches it a little bit. I mean, what was the book you did a couple of months ago? The Cerulean Sea had a lot of music in it, and I listened. I downloaded all that music and I had a book club, and I actually did that book that you guys had done previously. And it was lovely. The music sort of coming through and the talking about the music and what the songs were meaning. It was fun.
Did you look up some of the music for this one?
Well, I just listened to Joy Division. I did a little bit. Some of the songs I knew and some of the songs I didn't know, and I haven't listened to all of them. No, I should.
But I mean, I think that they were using language as sort of like, music as a language between them, because that's something that Jane absolutely loves. She still has her tapes in her bag. She's figured out that she's got radio in the palm of her hand now. So she's utilizing music as a way to communicate her feelings to August and vice versa. I know, right, Lisa? The fact that they love listening to the music and the soundtrack of the book. Well, yeah, I know. It's not a me thing because I like to listen to my books, so I can't listen to the music and the books at the same time. Yes, Jane sending messages with music, requesting songs like, you're my best friend, or, you're the love of my life. I think that was really, really clever. It would be kind of cool though if Casey McQuiston used sort of newspaper, what are they called? The classifieds kind of thing, to talk about the impact that Jane has had over the years on the train, because she has had a you know, she's a tangible person that's sort of living day to day on this train. And so the powerful interactions that she's had and positive interactions she's had with people that have prompted them to use this paper and the classifieds to try and thank her for this beautiful act that she's done, or for helping their 15-year-old son come out of the closet by giving her the pride pin, all these sorts of stuff. I thought it'd be really cool to use music as more of that buffer. So like, you know, excerpts of songs from the 70s that are kind of like, you know, fueling Jane's what she's going through. I just thought like, you know, music could have been more of a beautiful tie through than the classifieds, because like right at the end, the only payoff was that August put up her ad for, now I want to be a sleuth. So if you need to find someone, give me an email. So to have that like all the way through the book and that be the payoff, I don't know, it wasn't necessarily enough for me. It would be cool if it was like more excerpts of music or like musical lyrics that had that the glue that brings it all together, I guess. Really quickly, though, we've got a couple of people following the channel. So thank you, Luther Stiltskin and Aninha and Justica89 and Jathra and Shilshock. Thank you so much for the follows. I appreciate that. Knowledge von Baphomet. That's probably something that I should know how to say. Is that a character in a book? Baphomet. Thank you so much for following.
Oh, Maude.
What is it?
Oh, no.
What is
Baphomet it? Baphomet is a deity.
Which one?
It's usually worshipped in pagan religions, Wiccan, but some Christianity sees it as an avatar of Lucifer. But there's a lot going on with that. But it's a religious. Baphomet is a religious figure.
Yeah, you know me in religion. I'm learning everything for the first time over here. Oh, my friend just got Baphomet tattoo. The goat. Would you like to live a life more deliciously? That's Baphomet. Yeah, there you go. Cool. Looking things up. Robin, you sweet summer child. I'm like, yeah, I haven't worshipped a goat lately, but that's my bad, isn't it? I could get onto that. Don't you worry. Poor mum. Mum, do you think that devil worship's like on the scale of perfectly acceptable to not acceptable at all? Where would that fall?
And how does this relate to the book at all?
Because someone just followed called Knowledge von Baphomet, and I went on a tangent. Did you know who?
Question?
Do you know who Baphomet is? Did you know?
Well, I'm hearing who it is.
Yeah, we didn't know this shit. We don't know.
Well, I don't know, Maude.
Devil worship, 0 to 10.
Well, it's not something I've done a lot of.
A little bit. Okay.
I've probably called the devil on a number of occasions.
That's how I was born, Mum.
Mm.
Oh, I don't like that face. That was a new one for me. You couldn't see it, Mum, but I made a really repulsive face. Mum is not vegan. No. Anyway, that explains why we don't really know about the deities like that. We're all about Dionysus in the Garrett household, aren't we, Mum? You leaving me hanging?
Maybe.
What would be our appropriate deity? Athena, god of wisdom?
That's a very good philosophical question, Maude. I do not know.
What would we worship?
I don't know.
I don't know either. There's no god of video games, so...
No, but if
Achilles!
There was,
oh, Mum, let's worship
we
Achilles.
Would be in a religious frenzy in this family.
Yes. We could worship Achilles.
Historical god, I would pick Artemis. That's
Artemis? Okay. All right. Everyone else, what's your god of choice? What's your god
there
of choice?
There was a god of technology in American Gods.
Okay. Yeah, he was a bit weird though, innit? He looked like he was half in the Matrix.
It could be Thoth. He's Egyptian god of writing, magic, wisdom, and
I like
moon,
that.
apparently.
Is that Toth?
I can't remember if it's Thoth or Toth. I can't remember how to pronounce it. It's an Egyptian god.
Okay. love a bit of Egyptian. I always liked. Oh, what do we got, Tim?
I was going to let you finish your thought, Maude.
No, Anubis. There you go. God of death.
I was going to say I'm a big fan of Alanis Morissette.
Okay. We actually did worship Alanis Morissette in the household, didn't we, Mum? For about two full years.
She did play God. She did play God.
I think we did.
We did. It was Alanis Morissette and Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, the 90s.
Yeah.
I do like the Smashing Pumpkins, 1979.
I love how Mum
Good album.
She's smiling so big right now. Hey, Darren, did you read this book at all? I saw you just popped in here. Hello.
I did read it, yes.
Oh, give me your thoughts on it. What'd you give it out of 5?
I was in the 3 to 4 range, probably 3.5. I liked it. It was a super easy read, a super fast read. So funny, laughed out loud a few times. Yeah, had a not the kind of book I normally read, so it was a nice little change of pace from everything we've been going for. A nice happy story before we dive into probably a very unhappy story.
Yes. I will reflect on this as the happy palate cleanser, and I will be mad that I wasn't more grateful in this moment. Absolutely. Did you find that what was kind of the discourse that we've had over this books? Some people felt that it was all a little bit too convenient, but other people are saying the ease of it all is actually the appeal of the book. Where would you sit?
I don't read a lot of this stuff, so a lot of I guess the romance tropes that might be in there are all kind of new to me. So
okay.
I guess I didn't hit any of that stuff. I guess in terms of it being convenient, it just it felt like it was in line with everything. It didn't feel out of place that everything was convenient. So it just sort of fit with the story.
And last question, the sci-fi elements of it, because you have read quite a bit of sci-fi. How did you find that that's part of the story made sense? Did you understand what was the term again, Ken? Paragon, conflux, influx? Good.
I did not try to put any scientific background into what happened or why. It was just more to I guess magic or, you know what, shit happens. It was fine for me, so... I didn't really. I just sort of went with the flow. I didn't really need to try to base it in any real scientific reasoning.
Well done, and that was perfect. Perfect response. Comes in, great score. You just got to let the story wash over you. Is what it sounds like. All right, we've got just a couple of minutes left. Who has started book 3 of the Red Rising series? Who started that one? Who started Morningstar? Who's finished Morningstar? Not yet. Chapter 11.
I mean, technically, I've already read it, but I have not started this reread of it yet.
Tass was almost late because she didn't want to stop reading it. Colleen's always afraid to start too soon. Oh, yeah. So we've set the dates for this one because it is a bit of a thicker book. We're going to be meeting mid-month and the end of the month. So the 2nd and the 4th Wednesday of this coming month of July. Let me get this trusty little... I'm telling you, Mum, you've got to read the Red Rising series. I think you'll really like it. It's a bit dark and sci-fi and gritty and space opera-y, but it's very good. So the 12th and the 26th of July, mark it in the calendars. We'll pop it over in the announcements on the Discord, and we'll pop it on the website as well. I believe we're reading part 1, 2, and 3, or part 1 and 2? Part 1, 2, 3. What did we decide on for that one? The first 3 parts, because I just did that. No, someone's going to clip it. There's 3 parts. We're reading parts 1, 2, and 3. Talking about it on the 12th. We're reading parts 4, 5, and 6. We're talking about it on the 26th. We don't have access to Pierce this month because he's doing his book tour. So we're going to put a pin in that for a little bit. He's going to be traveling all over the country. He's got Comic-Con. He's got a bunch of things. He's got live shows, and that's actually taking him to mid-August or so. So, 1 to 34. Task with the chapters. Ask twice if you want to get the right answer with the What, K Frito? That doesn't make any sense. Avery says I was going to pick it up from the library today, but it was checked out, so I had to place a request for another copy to be sent. Can I recommend Libby as well? It is a free library app. If you have a library card, you can download Libby. You can get it for free. Also, we did a giveaway, so some people got the free books as well, which is a lot of fun. He is not traveling all over the country, or I would be able to see him, says KP Dubs. Was that a good emphasis read for you? Okay, perfect amount of grump. Okay, so he's not traveling all over the country. That's true. But he's doing a bit of a book tour. I think some of the stuff's going to be live as well. So we might try to link all, as much as possible, all of Pierce's tour on the Discord if people want to check out some of those things live. He is going to be talking about this book, this book that comes out, not yet. You got it already, Thierry? I like that. This doesn't come out for another month. So he's going to be talking about this, and there's 2 books before this, even if you've read Morning Star. So there's technically 3 books if you haven't started. So that will be going to full spoiler territory. Please be warned. Mum, do you want to hear about the book?
The book, this book that you're talking about?
Yeah,
now?
the Red Rising book.
Yeah, you keep talking about it. I should read it.
Do you remember reading Hunger Games like 12 years ago?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, the first book's kind of like Hunger Games, but a lot more violent.
Mm-hmm.
But the book is...
the Hunger Games was pretty violent.
Yes, but it was also a little bit cereal, sweets, morning sugar cereal. This one's like a bit brutal. But then that sort of like sets it up for something that's so much bigger, because it's like, the first book's like a test of this institute, and then it goes further than that. But it's kind of got your espionage dramas. So you've got someone who's like a spy, who's trying to take down the society, because structurally it's very sort of classist, so that the golds are at the top of the food chain, and the reds, which is what he's from, is the bottom of the food chain. And so basically they're trying to start a revolt. And he turns into a gold to infiltrate the top tier of society.
Okay.
Does that pique your interest at all?
It sounds like the Hunger Games.
except, okay, come on, book club. We've been reading the first 2 books. How else would we expand upon that?
Add some Lord of the Flies in there.
Okay. Piggy?
Yeah. Hunger Games, Lord of the Flies.
Greek mythology.
Greek mythology, yep.
Okay, nice.
War schematics, with like some really, really cool sci-fi, like Battlestar Galactica.
Okay. Bit of everything.
Very well written characters. You'll throw your book.
I like characterization. All right, okay. I'll give it a go. I'll get it out of the library.
Yeah, okay. Report back, Mumma Garrett. Hey, I just wanted to thank you, Bum, for sharing your opinions and bringing wonderful conversation to the table, talking about things from a very unique perspective with like, a psychoanalytical lens, but also talking about sort of current day book content and what we're reading and why it's prevalent or relevant or has the stage at the moment. Thank you for sharing about mother-daughter relationships. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
I don't know that there's a lot of wisdom coming through.
Thank you for swearing and letting me swear.
Certainly more.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And thank you for being wonderful. Also,
all right. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for the really lovely message that you sent when you were finishing the book that prompted you to say lovely things about me because of the very disjointed relationship that August had with her mother.
My pleasure, Maude.
I feel like if anyone got anything out of that, Mum and my relationship got something out of this book. So that's really wonderful, and I'm glad that happened. No following my mother, please. Usually this is a time where I'll plug someone. I'm like, where can people find you online? Please don't with my mum.
No, you won't find me online.
No, she barely even had a phone until the other day, So, but we'll have her for another book club. If there's a book that you think my mum will like that we have in the slate coming up, we'll include her in it because it's always a pleasure having you, Mama. Even if it's just to have another Australian accent. Oh, yeah, Lisa says don't follow her offline either. That's a really good, yep. Needs to be said from time to time. Colleen says, yay, that is a win for this book. And Maude and Mum. It certainly is. Well, I can't wait to go into full despair with you all next month. Let's throw some books together. And we'll be obviously putting the next book up on Fable. If there's an author that you'd like me to try and reach out to for a Q&A, let me know. If you're not a part of the Discord, now's the perfect time to do it. The community is growing every single day. We talk books. We have recommendations. We talk about what we're currently reading. We have our Goodreads check-in, which is just happening. If you're on Goodreads, give the Maude's Book Club a follow there as well. We'll be putting the new book up. When I say we, I mean Lisa. Thank you. When you're better, though.
I already did it.
Everyone, where's the Discord round of applause for? Wait, I can do it. Round of applause. There it is. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Mumma Garrett. Thank you to all the members for helping Maude's Book Club show up every single month with a brand new book, new opinions, new conversation. Check out the book club website as well, maudsbookclub.com. There's a bunch of links. Get involved. We have a new member as well, so thank you to the new member for joining. I think it was Zach. Really appreciate that. The community is fantastic. And thanks for welcoming my mum into it too. All right, everyone.
Well, thanks for welcoming me. It was fun. Thank you. And lots of interesting comments from you guys.
Yeah, I really love having these sort of conversations. I think that they're important, and I think that we all have such a plethora of unique information, and it's so good to exchange that and to get new perspectives and insights. I think it's always really cool. All right, well, I'm going to do a little bit of a raid, and because we have been reading this book and it's Pride and Sage is just chatting. Sage is a very dear friend of mine. She runs the Pixel Circus channel with her friend Kaylee Bray. They do a bunch of fun shows, including Dungeons and Dragons and a morning geeky news show. Please say hi to Sage for me. Drop some books in the chat there, and we'll see you 12th and the 29th. Oh my God, did I already mess that up? 12th and the 12th and the 26th. Didn't stick the landing. 12th and 26th, and Members Plus. I'll be seeing you after the show for a chat. All right, bye everyone. Cool.